What if thought leaders from around the university came together to discuss state-of-the-art remedies to 21st century challenges? Florida Atlantic University's faculty are pioneering education through cutting-edge solutions such as artificial intelligence, authentic assessment, and active learning. Join us as our faculty forge new paths to the future of higher education. From the Center for Online and Continuing Education, this is Faculty Lounge Live.
Welcome to Faculty Lounge Live. My name is Arthur Tavora, and I'm here with Michelle Shaw. She's the Director of Student Accessibility. And we also have Donnell Johnson. He's a Training Coordinator for OIT Services. So throughout this Faculty Lounge Live, we'll go through a bunch of different topics, starting with introduction and overview, then accommodations, changes in Title II of the ADA, then assistive technology and resources, training and collaboration, and future developments. And we'll finalize everything at final thoughts. So to begin with, what is the role of Student Accessibility Services, SAS, at FAU, and what is its main mission?
Great question. So our office really is here to make sure that our students with disabilities that register with our office get equal access to their education here at FAU. And the biggest thing is making sure that we, the university, are following all federal, state, and local laws along with the university policies. And that could be the Americans with Disabilities Act, Section 504, 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, and also with the Fair Housing Act, some of our big ones. And we want to make sure that we keep in compliance with the law so that we don't get into trouble.
Yes.
That's our big thing.
Awesome. So let's move on to the second question, which is, how does SAS help FAU follows laws like the ADAAA, Section 504, and the Fair Housing Act?
So for us, we want to first of all make sure students are registering with us for services. And once they do, we then implement those accommodations, whether they be in housing, which is the fair housing, which covers special housing arrangements, or an emotional support animal, which is only allowed in housing, not in the classroom, and not covered under the ADA. And then the academic accommodations that are within the classroom, which is anything from note-taking or sign language interpreters or extra time on tests, excused absences, things like that. So we just want to make sure that the faculty are, receiving those accommodation letters and that they're acknowledging them and making sure that they happen.
Also, I think providing those resources is very helpful for them to be informed, correct?
Correct, very much.
So let's move on to accommodations for students. How does SAS provide accommodations like exam proctoring, course substitutions, and priority registration?
Awesome. So for our students, the first thing is the students do have to register with us for services. And the one thing I have to point out is you can only recommend that a student registers. You cannot make them register. Mm-hmm. That's their choice. And so a student can apply for services in our office. Our application is on our website. It's easy, same login as logging into their MyFAU or Canvas, and they fill out the application, upload the documentation of the disability, and then it comes directly to us. And then we're going to assign a consultant for them, and then that consultant is the person that's going to work with them one-on-one throughout their career here at Florida Atlantic. And then, we set up an appointment. It's called our intake interview, where it's an interactive approach where we look at the documentation, but we also listen to the student and we observe the student. And that's how we determine what accommodations are needed. And not, if we have two students with the same disability, they're not necessarily going to have the same accommodations, because we look at it holistically based on the student, not necessarily the disability.
Okay. So I think it's important highlighting how the student has to reach out, right?
Correct. They have to self-disclose, which is different from the K-12 setting.
Great. And last question for accommodations for the students is, how does SAS make sure accommodations are applied in the classrooms?
So every semester, students do have to request their accommodations. Even if they've had that professor previously, it doesn't matter. Every semester, they have to send those accommodations, and they get ample reminders from us to do so. And then those notifications then go through the portal to our faculty in the form of an email to remind them to go into the portal and view and acknowledge those accommodations. Those are really important to do that in order for us to make sure that the students' accommodations are taking place. Plus, if we're going to be proctoring exams, those letters need to be acknowledged so that the student can then book their accommodation exams in our office. So that's really key for us.
Great. I think that was super resourceful and informative to everybody watching. So moving on to changes in Title II of the ADA, I think this is a topic that involves both of you guys. What are the recent changes to Title II of the ADA and how they affect colleges and universities?
So this is the fun one. So in April of 2024, the changes to Title II of the ADA were implemented by the federal government. And what this did is previously we used to fall under the ADA and also Section 508, which meant we were to make sure if a student requested accessible information, accessible documents, that we provided it. Now the law has changed, and from the get-go, we all have to be accessible with our online content. So anything that's on our websites and our courses, and also with our social media, any apps, third-party apps, all of that stuff has to be accessible from the get-go. And there's deadlines that we have to meet for this. And so that's why we're trying to get the word out there now for the faculty, because we have time and we have lots of assistance as well for them.
Yeah, I think this inclusion is ideal, right? Because we want to include everybody, right? For the second question would be, what is FAU doing to meet the new requirements for fully accessible courses from day one?
So right now we are doing our due diligence to get the word out there to everyone so that they're on notice, that, explaining that this isn't us telling you that you have to do this. This is the federal law. Because we receive federal funding from the government in the forms of financial aid, we have to abide by the law. And so we're just trying to get the word out there and then show the tools and the trainings that we now have available.
So right now we have a few softwares that we have available. We have a few workshops and a few open lab sessions where people can actually come in to get kind of like a handhold session or even training during our open labs. So if they have questions, we want to answer them and kind of ease any stress that might exist.
Yeah. And on that, what tools and training are available to help faculty meet these accessibility standards?
So one of the big ones that we have right now, we've actually had in the Canvas for a while, is actually Blackboard Ally. It's kind of like this auditing tool that will actually scan your course. It looks for files, it looks for photos, things that might not be in compliance, pulls them out and gives you a nice list. Not only does it give you that list, it also breaks down why it's doing this and what you can do to improve it and shows you how to get it done.
Awesome. And on that, we'll move on to the next question, which is inside of the topic of assistive technology and resources. But we'll move on to more of the students, right? So what assistive technologies and resources are available to help students in the Assistive Technology Resource Center?
Perfect. Yeah. I forgot to mention one tool before, but one of the tools is using Blackboard Ally within Canvas. The students right now, as long as the document's accessible, there's a little boat with a little arrow next to a document, whether it's a PDF or a Word file or a PowerPoint, they can download that file into the format that works for them. And that does include HTML, a readable PDF, Braille, and an MP3, which is awesome for our students. So that's already available, that tool as well. But the other tools that we have available for all students, we have Read and Write, which any student, faculty, or staff member actually can download a copy of this and save it onto their computer. And it does text to speech, but it can also do speech to text. Like I create MP3 files for exams in there, which is really an awesome little tool. So that's something that anybody can utilize on our website. Just download it as long as they use their FAU email. And then the other big tool that we just purchased, which we got a grant for as well, is Glean. And Glean is a note-taking app. It's available for any student, faculty, or staff member. You might need it for staff meetings. And what this does, it allows you to upload a PowerPoint or a handout, agenda for whatever you're going to, whether it's a class or a meeting, and it allows you to take notes. It records the lecture and then afterwards gives you the audio and a transcript so you can go back and review your notes, make sure you haven't missed anything. And the biggest thing that I love is the Quiz Me feature. It helps the students especially go back and review the information and see what they learn and what they need to focus on more. So that's a really good tool.
Wow, so many tools, many formats, very inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Like I think bringing all these different formats is actually very helpful for everybody, right? Because it emphasizes that inclusiveness, right?
Correct. And there's a lot of apps as well on our website that students can utilize. And it's not just for students registered with our office. Any student could use these apps on their phone. Even you could, if
Yeah.
you wanted to. There's some really great apps out there that give accessibility to all.
Great. So yeah, any tools, computers, phones, everything works with these apps, right?
Yep.
Great. So moving on to training and collaboration. What training or workshops does SAS offer to help faculty and staff create accessible learning environments?
So right now we have a few available. We have one on Blackboard Ally, we have one on creating PDFs, and then we have our workshop again, which you're going to be able to come in, meet with a professional, and get that one-to-one experience, or come to one of our workshops and learn how to use the softwares we have available.
And when does that happen? Like, is there?
So it's going to be every other Tuesday for right now for the Open Lab. And then our other workshops will happen about once a week, repeating every week.
So anybody's invited to come in and learn these tools, right?
They're able to come in person or online virtually if they can't make it.
Great. So as you guys heard, if you guys need any help, they have all the resources available, right?
Yep.
So,
And
yeah.
for us through SAS, we are also trying to get in to meet with any faculty meetings to sit down and talk with the staff and the faculty about the changes under Title II and give you some resources and tools that we have been collecting that you could possibly utilize, which are stored on our webpage, which if you go to fau.edu/SAS and click on the faculty tab, you're going to see our resources that we have available for you to utilize.
You guys should be seeing that on the screen right now. For how does SAS work with faculty to meet students' needs and stay compliant with accessibility laws? I'm sorry.
So we try to work with faculty a lot. I always tell professors, please reach out if you're concerned about an accommodation or an accessibility need. Maybe you're having difficulty with it. Reach out to us and let us know, and we can come meet with you. We can talk to you on the phone, on Zoom, in person. We don't care. We'll come to your office if need be, because our goal is to make sure that our students get what they need and get that same access as every other student without a delay, and also help you not be so stressed about providing that accommodation. So I give out my cell number, my personal cell number all the time to faculty because I want you to be able to reach me if you can't do something. If there's a problem, I need to know, and I'd rather you do that. So
I think that's a great thing for faculty because they have somebody they can rely on. And if they have any sort of insecurity, they can reach out, right? They know somebody's there for them. So I think that's a very, very nice of you to do that for faculty. And I think they really appreciate that as well, right?
Yep.
So moving on again for future developments, what is SAS doing next to implement the updated ADA Title II requirements?
it's just basically getting the word out there. That's our big thing, getting the word out there, offering, as well as you guys doing some training. We've been offering training too, because we've been doing accessible PDFs forever and a day, because most PDFs we see out there are not accessible. And we have to do that for our students. So, we don't mind helping our students, helping our faculty do that, because we want to make sure that we are compliant with the law and with, the least amount of stress level on all parties to do so. So invite me to your departmental meetings. I'd be more than willing to come. Not a problem.
Yeah, and this is why we open Faculty Lounge Live to every person from FAU, because we want to actually emphasize these ideas that can help lots of people, right? So, yeah.
And not just faculty, staff in the departments, anybody that's doing websites, we need to get those people on board too.
There you go. So now a question that I think will be aimed at you. What are the new upcoming tools, resources, or initiatives that faculty and staff should know about? Is there any AI tools, anything you can do?
So first, I just want to state that anything that's new or really existent, go ahead and check our website at techevents.fau.edu. You'll see all of our upcoming trainings and workshops that we have available, and anything new we'll add on there. But right now, what we're doing is we're researching different AI tools, trying to see which ones we have available. For example, Copilot was at one point able to read images. We're looking at other AIs or training an AI to be able to read images, to create alt text. So it's one less hurdle for professors here at FAU to deal with. So we're trying to kind of automate some of these fixes to do the, help people kind of cross that hurdle a lot faster.
So stay tuned. As you guys can see, many tools coming up, and AI is a boom right now, right? So I think many more things will be showing up very soon. So now for final thoughts, what advice would you give to faculty and students to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment? And I think this kind of question can go to both of you guys. Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
So I think right now it's just kind of understanding that what we're trying to do is make it easier on a lot of people here. Sometimes I know it can seem like there's a lot that's coming at you, but just remind you that, hey, we are going to be open and available to help you along on this path, so you're not just by yourself. And not only that, I personally find it that sometimes using these tools as myself makes it a lot easier for me to learn. Reading transcripts on some of the trainings I've seen have definitely hit the points on me more than just watching the videos sometimes. Because everyone learns at a different pace or at a different level.
I completely agree with you. I think some of these tools I use myself, like AI, for example, I use on a daily basis, helps me through it. So as you guys can see, it's not only limited to, people that need that to live with, right? And this can be used by anybody, right? These tools. So I think that's very important. And sorry, you can go ahead.
No problem. No, and I can say too, because I've been doing closed captioning for a long time for videos to make them accessible for our students, I cannot watch a video or a movie now without closed captionings. It drives me nuts without it, but it drives my husband's nuts that it's on. But I don't know, for me, it just works better now, having the captions on there. But I would just want to reach out to the faculty. I'm teaching this semester, and I had to create my class from scratch as an adjunct for a class, and I worked on it over the winter break, and I was able to make my class 100% accessible by just spending a little bit more time on making sure that all of my documents were accessible from the get-go by using that accessibility checker in Word, but also on PowerPoint as well, because it is available for PowerPoint. And then when I did have a PDF, which I think I only had a couple, I made sure that I used Adobe Pro to go through and make sure that it was fully accessible as well.
And let me go ahead and jump on that too. So sometimes people don't even realize the tools have been available for the past year. As a matter of fact, I have some professors. One of the reasons why they like using Zoom, not to actually meet with their students, but to actually record their lectures, is there's already an AI transcriber that does a really excellent job. Right. Sure, you can tweak it just a little bit to make it a little bit better, but that's how they've been doing their closed captioning on their lectures already, and they've loved it for the past year or so.
So I think the take-home message is that all these tools can be used for anybody, right? So I think it will not only help the people that need it, but everybody in the whole world. So why not emphasize these tools, right? So, so I think that's it for Faculty Lounge Live, guys. Thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.